There we go. We have started. So, okay, yes. Good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining the January virtual event for the Welsh Azure user group. Thank you, everybody that's joined so far. Look forward to seeing those that are about to join, because I do my little intro as people join. Yeah, usual format again this week. Just a quick hello from us as a user group. Just remind everybody this is a community user group. We're here to kind of surface many things, mainly tech in and around Azure, as the name of the user group suggests. But if you've got any ideas, suggestions, topics that you'd like to see covered, or if you'd like to speak at the user group, please, feel free to reach out to any one of us there on that slide. It's predominantly myself and Matt that you'll see joining and running these groups virtually over the last kind of few months. But please do feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn or look us up on Twitter, or X as it is now. But yeah, and also please do forward any posts that you see on the platform. Help us kind of spread the word, would be really useful. And you can follow the group on X or Twitter at Welsh Azure, and likewise there is a LinkedIn group if you want to join up to that as well, and just get the updates on most recent group talks and things like that. So yeah, welcome everybody. Usual format, like I say, this month, two fantastic speakers back on the cards for you again this month, with Nikos waiting in the wings there to start talking us in and around Azure Service Bus. So really intricate talks there. Looking forward to seeing what Nikos is going to cover off on that talk. And then Elkhan will be joining us in about 45-50 minutes or so to give us a bit of an update. If you're looking to take that Azure Cloud Architect Exam at AZ-305, if you don't know Elkhan from the community, look him up on all platforms, follow him. He's got some great learning content as well, so he's going to give us a bit of an update, really a review on what the latest changes are in that AZ-305 exam. So really important if you're looking to study for it. Timings wise, like I say, I'll be quiet in a second, and we'll let Nikos kick off with the talk around Azure Service Bus. After Elkhan's talk, so roughly around about 8:15, we'll be having our quiz. And yeah, we've got a bit of a twist this month. So those that have followed the group for a little while will know we've got Quizzer, the platform marvelously developed by Mr. Fatunka himself there. He's brought in some generative AI, so could have some interesting questions this month, right, Matt? So looking forward to seeing that one.
They've all been verified, I think.
Can you be? Yeah, we'll have to. Well, it's a talk. We just said then before we started this session. It's one of those things. I think we'll have to reprise the talk Matt did a few months back and kind of put a on it and add the bits in around the Gen AI. But yeah, really cool. Matt just gave us a quick sneaky peek before we started this session. So usual format. We've got some ironically Amazon gift vouchers up for grabs. So please do stick around after Elkhan's talk. Join in the quiz, get your mobile phones and your web browsers ready. We'll drop the links and the way that you can join in on that one after that talk. Just to kind of a little bit of housekeeping, more or less. It's like I say, this is a community event. This is, we don't block any microphones or cameras. You're in full control. Please, I shouldn't have to say, and I haven't had to say this really before, but please do be courteous to each other. We're all here to learn from one another. There's no silly questions. This is the point. We've got the chat facility open, so please do stay on mute unless the speaker invites you to come off mute. But chat facility is open. Please do engage in the chat if it's with the fellow spectators, or you've got a question or a point to make. Please do drop it in the chat and be engaged. Just I'm sure there are a lot of clever people in this room usually. So if the speaker's preoccupied speaking, there's normally a good bunch that can answer some of those questions as well. So your chance to drop that in there. Please do leave us some feedback. I'll drop you a quick link at the end of the session tonight. It's always valuable, like I say, whether you've got a content topic you'd really love to see spoken about, or whether you want to join in with the user group, whatever your feedback is, please do leave us some, because it's always valuable for us to kind of revisit. Like I say, stick around for the quiz. More importantly, be interactive and make sure you enjoy, get what you can out of the sessions. Before we jump into the sessions, the usual thing of a quick shout out to our sponsors. I know we cover this every month, but it kind of goes without saying, really, it's really important to have support for these community user groups. Behind the scenes, it's a little bit of time for myself and Matt to kind of put these things together, and obviously thanks to the speakers that have joined us, over the years, really, to kind of give up your time and come and speak. But equally, when it comes to, kind of financial things, the likes of Servant have been, paramount. They've been with us since the start. So huge thanks and shout out to Servant and the team there up in Scotland. As you can see, they support more than just the Welsh Azure user group. They've got a few user groups across the UK. So yeah, huge thanks to those guys. And more close to home, I should say, we were fortunate enough to have CreditSafe, who have got a HQ down in Cardiff, so down in South Wales, and it's really great to kind of have a large company like CreditSafe back the group again. The support is great from the team. They've been with us now quite a few months, so huge thanks to that team for kind of supporting the group. There's a little bit about CreditSafe, but like I say, the aim of the group a little while back was to obviously drum up local Welsh business, and hopefully get at some stage Ridian at CreditSafe. I don't know if he's in the chat room yet or not, but I think Ridian's got some really great ideas and topic areas that CreditSafe themselves have been working along. So I know he said that he will come onto the group and give us a talk about what CreditSafe have been up to over the last couple of years on their kind of cloud and their transformation journey. So anyway, huge thanks to the sponsor companies. Yeah, moving on. I think that's about it. I think we will kick off with the talk session. So again, thank you everybody for joining. Please do stay engaged in the chat. And on that note, I'll hand you over to Nikos, and we'll look at Fire and Forget with Azure Service Bus. Thanks for joining us, Nikos. How are you keeping?
Thanks for having me. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Fantastic. Let me just share my screen. The correct one. It should be visible now. Is it? Yeah,
got
good.
you. Yeah, can see Nikos.
Fantastic. Okay. Again, thanks for having me. I'm really excited. This is my very first talk for 2024. I hope we have a great year. Actually, generally, I hope that everybody has a good year. We really need it, all of us, don't we? And today I'm here to talk to you about the Azure Service Bus, which, spoiler alert, it's no bus, like no vehicles at all, nothing like that. It's a resource in Azure, but more on that in a minute. A few words about myself. My name is Nikos Delis. I am born and raised in Greece, but I live in Sweden since 2012. I work as a senior cloud engineer and cloud evangelist at a company called Halo. And I am very, very passionate about Azure, but I have been working as a developer. Also, I started my career as a developer, and I have done pretty much everything that Microsoft has produced in the .NET spectrum, like starting with the .NET Framework and doing everything from Windows desktop applications to APIs and then some web stuff until I jumped on the Azure train a few years ago now. Now, since last year or a little bit earlier than that, I have been really passionate about the community as well and about sharing my knowledge. And I have learned so much, and I do owe my career to all the other developers that exist in the world and architects and in general software people. So I felt that it's a good time for me to start giving back. So I have a little blog called ndtechnique.com, and there I publish stuff which is, in my opinion, not general knowledge, and also it's really fun stuff. It's the things that I enjoy to do and the things that I meet in my day job. I also have a podcast called Azure Triumphs, stories of people who succeed with Azure, and I just released a new episode of the second season. This is the second season of it. I'm really proud of it, and in that podcast I interview lots of experts or Microsoft MVPs or Microsoft employees or other people who had just had incredible projects that somehow include Azure, or maybe not, but they are for some reason interesting in that spectrum. And I am also extremely proud that I have joined the organizers crew crew of the Azure Skåne community. Skåne is the southern region of Sweden, and we have a little community there as well. And I'm there quite often in our meetups, and yeah, recently I get to join the crew. enough about me. Let's go to today's agenda, and a little bit about what I'm going to talk about. First of all, I'm going to explain to you what is the service bus. And I can give you a small spoiler, it's a message broker. And I will explain what the message broker is. And then there are three services that many people confuse, and one could see them as similar also. We have the service bus, we have the Azure Event Grid, and we have the Azure Event Hub. And those could be similar in some ways, but they're quite different. And I will try to explain the differences between them and when you should use which. Then I will propose a way to use Service Bus as part of your architecture. In fact, I do use Service Bus in my projects as often as I can. I was first introduced to it in a project where I was just a part of the cloud developers team, and I was amazed by the capabilities it gave us. And then we will have a small demo. It's not in the agenda, but we will have. I have been praying to the demo gods for everything to work. After that, I'm going to explain to you how you can implement the first in, first out pattern using the Service Bus. I will explain to you how we can have scheduled message deliveries, meaning that we can decide when a message will be delivered to its recipients, or maybe recipients is not a good word, to those who want to fetch it, that message. I will introduce you to the dead letter queue, and maybe the name suggests what is it about. And last but not least, I will mention a few pitfalls that I would like to avoid if I were to work with the Azure Service Bus. After that, if we have a few minutes over, I think we can take some questions or something. Okay, so starting with 101, and let's say that before going to the slide, I will try to quickly explain what a message broker is. Now, sometimes when we have two systems communicating with each other, we do not want to be dependent from both systems being online. We want the one system to be able to send the requests, and they are somewhere saved, let's say like that, until the other system on the other side is available or wants to peek them. So in order to do this, we have to do something called decoupling. So we have to separate those two services, and we have to put someone in the middle. Now, this someone in the middle is usually a message broker. It's a good example of how a message broker can be used. So imagine it like a postman, like a guy that you give them a letter, and you tell them that I want that to be delivered to, not really to someone, because that would be the event grid, but I want that to be available to those who are interested in it. This is how this message broker works. Now, Azure Service Bus is Microsoft's take in message brokers. Of course, there are others. There's MQTT, there is, which is a very popular protocol, or at least if you work with IoT, Kafka, RabbitMQ, those are very similar and very popular alternatives. But the Azure Service Bus is one of the most resilient and trustworthy ones. And as I have now in my slide, it is a fully managed enterprise message broker, and managed is something that we like. By managed, I mean that it is Microsoft that takes care of it. We don't have to take care of the server where the service bus is running. We don't have to take care about networking. We don't have to take care about the disks and everything. Microsoft manages those things for us, and this is what we want. This is why we use Azure in the first place. Then the Service Bus is one of the oldest actually resources. I learned that from Eldred Grottenboer. I hope I didn't butcher his name, but he's the program manager for Azure Service Bus, if I'm not mistaken. And he mentioned that it is one of the oldest services in Azure. It's been released in over 10 years. And in all those years, they have only lost 7 messages. Now, can you imagine how many billions, trillions of messages they have served, and how good the number 7 is? I mean, it's been a couple of years since I heard that, so they might be 8 by now. But yet again, I think it's amazing. It's remarkable that they are so trustworthy and they can deliver this number of messages. I believe someone. Okay, thanks. Then we have 2 types of services in the service bus. We have a queue and we have the topics. And the main difference between them is in the queue we have one sender, one receiver. In the topics we have one sender, multiple receivers. Again, receiver is not a good name because we're not giving anything to someone. We make available those messages to the queue or to the topic. I will mention later why this is a differentiator between the Service Bus and Event Grid, but I wanted to say that once again that we don't have receivers. Now I took those images from Microsoft Learn, and there it's a receiver, but it is those who are interested and want to pick those messages. So they are subscribers. They're not really receivers. We do have some quotas. It's not endless. It's not like that everything is limitless. The messages that we send have to be in the standard tier at most 256 kilobytes, and in the premium tier 100 megabytes. Now 100 megabytes, it sounds a little bit too much for me. If I had that case, then I might take a look on the architecture and see if I'm really missing something. Then the queue or the topic size in the standard tier, it can be max 1 to 5 gigabytes. It's default 1, and it can go up to 5 and 80 gigabytes in premium. Now you will imagine, okay, you will think that, okay, we have so small messages like 256 kilobytes. Why do we need 1 gigabyte? Now remember the decoupling. The subscriber might not be online, might not pick those messages directly. So those messages are sent by the sender, and they are saved there in the topic or in the queue, and they wait for someone to pick them. And until then, this queue and this topic only grows. So it's not impossible that we reach those sizes. And that's why we need to have some other parameters like time to leave and stuff like that. But I will get back on that later. We also have a limitation on the number of messages per transaction, and those are 100. And we also have a limit on the number of topics or queues per namespace. Now, namespace is what we create in Azure when we create a service bus. So what we register is a service bus namespace, and inside that namespace, we create topics and queues. And we can have maximum 10,000 of those. There are a few others as well, and there are others that are coming continuously, but nothing that they don't announce. Those are very, very open data in Microsoft Learn. Then continuing with some general information and why I really like Service Bus. Service Bus is a service that is hardly integrated with many other very popular and very big services in Azure, like the Event Grid, like Logic Apps, like Azure Functions. There are triggers for Azure Functions and input and output bindings from Azure Functions that can directly send or directly fetch messages from the Service Bus. Of course, the Power Platform, Dynamics 365, Stream Analytics, everything, all of those are hardly connected to Service Bus. And this comes in really handy when we want to use those services. I find it very, very suitable. Of course, Microsoft offers as well an SDK for us, or multiple SDKs actually. We can connect and send messages and pick messages from the Service Bus using C#, of course. Java, C and C++, Python, PHP, Go, JavaScript. If I'm not mistaken, I think even Ruby is in the game by now. Then, as I mentioned earlier, the fact that it is fully managed by Microsoft is a big advantage because we don't have to worry about all the hardware and all those very heavy stuff that we don't want to deal with. And of course, being so many years active and having delivered so many messages, I think it's safe to say that it is one industry-leading service in terms of reliability and availability also. Now, regarding availability, I need to mention that there are 3 tiers right now in Service Bus. The first one is, I think they don't want to call it deprecated, so they call it classic. But by classic, it means deprecated, and I could hardly use it even for development purposes. Then we have the standard tier, and that's a good one. This is very, very cheap, and you only pay for a number of depending on the number of messages that you consume and send. But the limits are really, really high, so you have to send like millions of messages for you to get an invoice that is going to make you worry. But the standard tier might have some unavailability. You could experience some downtime, and by downtime I mean maybe a few seconds every now and then. It's not that it's unusable like for longer periods. But if you really need something to use in production, something that is reliable, then you're looking for the premium tier. Now, last time I checked, it costs like $700 per month, the premium tier, just that, but you get endless number of messages. Now, I might be mistaken on that because they do change it quite often. But it's pretty much impossible that you have to pay more than that. Now, going further on, as I mentioned, I will explain the differences between those 3 siblings, as I like to call them. So starting from the end, like when you should use what. If you have new tasks, like a new order has come in and we have various subscribers that are interested in it, like you have the economy department that is going to send an invoice to the client. You have the logistics that are going to pack the things and send them, and you have the administrators or the R&D department or your statistics, somebody else. All those are interested in the fact that a new order has arrived. There is a new task that some subscribers are interested in. So in such a case, you should use the service bus. So if you have this scenario, this push and pull. And by push, I mean you send a message, then you don't care about what happens with it. Someone will come and pick it up. Then we have the event hub. And as I said, something happened. And by something, lots of things have to be happening for the event hub to be a good choice. It is built to be scalable and partitioned, and it is built for high volumes. It can take like millions of requests per second, and it is also using the push and pull pattern, and it also allows rereads. I think I missed to mention that once a message is picked from a subscription, that's it. That's the end of it. It disappears. And of course, this is a good thing because we don't want the subscription to grow endlessly. Event Hub does allow you to have the messages in your queue available for a longer period of time, and you can reread them. In general, event hubs are used for IoT. If you have sensors that are transmitting like lots of data every second or even more often than that. Then we also have the IoT, the Azure IoT Hub, which is a cousin of the Event Hub. It actually is pretty much the same thing, but it has some additional tools that are very relatable to IoT. Last but not least, the one that differs quite a lot is the event grid. Now, this uses the push style, meaning that this is the postman. This is that you give a letter to someone and you tell them you need to deliver it to that receiver. So in that case, we do have sender and receiver, and it is used when we want something to be done. So this is also another question you should ask yourself. I need to send a message. Okay, do I care about what happens with the message? Do I have to make sure that the message is delivered? If yes, then Event Grid is your tool of choice. If not, then either a Service Bus or the Event Hub. Now continuing with the architecture and a few words about decoupling. Now imagine that you have an application that looks like that. And let me explain the icons for a moment. Let's say that we have an Azure storage account where blobs are created in a container. And let's say that we have a logic app, which, I don't know, is activated by an HTTP trigger, by an HTTP request. And we also have the API management down there, which of course receives requests. And those can talk to Azure functions. And this one by an API can talk to a function, and this one also can send an HTTP request to the same function. And then let's say that this one has a blob trigger, meaning that it is fired when a blob is created in the storage account. And in that case, this one is sending some data to the Azure Data Factory. Let's say that it opens the blob, it reads it, it gets some data out of it, and it sends it to the Data Factory. And that this one does create another blob in another storage account, and it also sends some data to the Data Factory. Now you see what the problem is here. If this one is down, then this cannot do its job. Those are dependent to each other. Those are not decoupled, and this is not a good thing. We want the application to be alive regardless if the Azure Data Factory is alive. And in order to achieve that, we use this architecture. We put a service bus in the middle, and in that case, the Azure function that listens to the storage account and has a blob trigger is sending a message to the service bus. And then the logic app is also sending a message to the service bus. And the API management resource as well, using the service bus API, sends a message to the service bus. Now, all of those things, all of those three services know that I have done my job. I have done all I had to do. I don't need to worry about how and when the message is going to be delivered to the data factory or to the storage account, because the one that is responsible for those things are those functions. So we have managed to decouple those from each other. And in that case, those two functions, they do subscribe to the topics that the messages were sent to, and they pick those messages, and only if they succeed to put the message in the storage account in that case, and in the data factory in that case, they mark the message as complete, meaning that, okay, I have picked the message, I have done what I was supposed to do, now I am done, now we can forget about the message. So this is a classic way to implement decoupling. And before going to the demo, I would like to show you an example from a project that I have in real life. Now, we do have a client that is that has a lot of salespeople, and they use a PDA. Like, you remember those big screen they look like phones, but they're not. They're small computers. And they also have a scanner, an IR scanner, and they scan lots of barcodes. And then beep, 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 they scan all of those, and they send a big request to Azure, to the API management. Then that one in its backend is sending a request to an Azure function that is picking all the orders, it is validating them, and the ones that are valid, are put inside a message or a batch of messages, because we can also set batches of messages, and this is a good practice because we can use just one request to Service Bus to send lots of data, and until we reach those 256 kilobytes, we can add stuff in the message. So the message is sent to the Service Bus, and of course, the goal is that we want the data to end up in Postgres and in this file thingy on premises and in this AI model that is performing some analytics. And we also want people to be able to see those orders in their portal. But the seller should not worry about those things. The seller should only think that, okay, I have sent my orders, I did what I was supposed to do. Now it's not my duty anymore to worry about those things. So once the message is sent, now when this part is successful, we return a 200 to the salesperson. So they know that, okay, my order is valid, it is sent, now I don't worry anymore. And then we have those functions and this webhook that subscribe to the same topic, to the orders topic, and they pick the message. Also, we shouldn't confuse the topics with the subscription. We can have many subscribers in each topic, and the message will be available to all subscribers. It doesn't mean that the first subscriber who picked the message is the only one who has it. The message will be available to each subscriber. So once this function picks it, it gets to Postgres. Once this picks it, it gets to the file system. Once this one picks it, it gets to the AI model, and so on and so forth. So this is how the Service Bus has taken lots of worries from us, because this is a reliable architecture. And in every case, if something breaks, we can still fix it and the salespeople can still work. We don't have to stop production because this function doesn't work or because Postgres is down. We can pause that one and let the messages pile up. And when we're ready again, we pick them and we read them and we do what we want with them. Now, I hope I haven't confused you a lot, because I'm ready to show you how this behaves. I have prepared for you a little demo, and I do need some help. So once you take your phone and let's say if I can also do that, see if it works. Open in Chrome. Now, this is what it looks like for me when I open it. Now, behind this QR code is an Azure function that has an HTTP trigger, and it gets your request. It generates some fun text, and it sends you back. It sends a message to Service Bus, and it sends the response back to you. And if I reload a couple of times, you see that the funny word there is regenerated. I hope that a few of you have had the time to test it out, because I'm going to show you how this thing. Oh, sorry for that. Here I am. Okay. Now let's see what has happened for the few messages that we have received. Now I will get back to that. I just want to see the messages inside the Service Bus. So I'll use the Service Bus Explorer, and I am going to use okay, it's loading, the subscription called Fang. Now, as you can see, I am in pick mode. I'm not in receive mode. If I were in receive mode and I were to get the messages, then they would be done for that subscription. So when I look in pick mode, I can pick in them, but they're not removed. So let's see, pick from start. Let's see, okay, we have a number of messages, and you see the message body here, and I guess that some of you have seen those funny words. And now I have also made a little function for us. Actually, this is the one that you used. I hope that the code is readable. Please tell me to zoom in if it's not. This is the HTTP trigger function that you used, and as you can see, it gets a lucky word, and it uses the Service Bus client to create a sender and to send a message. to the service bus, and then it just disposes the clients. Now I have another one.
Nikos, if you're all right zooming in a little bit, that might be useful.
Yeah.
Only a little bit. I think it's a bit small.
Yes, let's
Great,
go
yeah,
to
thanks, Nikos.
let's go to 150. Is that better?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Nikos.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. So once again, here is the Azure function, and that one is published in Azure. So when you use the camera to scan this URL code, what you really did was that you send a request to this very function in Azure. So this generates us some random text for you, and it sends the message to Service Bus, and then just disposes the clients and gives you back this funny text. Now I have another function as well called receiver. And again, it's not a receiver. I don't know why I keep using that word. And now this has a service bus trigger, meaning that this is going to connect to service bus, and I will show you in a while how it's connected. It is using the demo subscription, and it's using the func, I confused. Yeah, the demo topic and the func subscription. And what will happen when I run this one is that it will print the message ID and the message body. Now, since this one is a trigger and it uses a subscription and a topic, once I run this one, it will print the messages, and then the messages will magically disappear. Let's see if the demo guys are with us. Okay. Yeah, look at that. Something's happening. Zebra, Control, Congress. Now I will leave it up. I will actually make it a bit bigger. Hopefully it is readable. And let's see if I can reload the page a couple of times. Oh, I think someone else is doing that as well. So as you reload the page, and as I do it as well, the messages keep up coming. Now I leave this running, and I will go back to the Service Bus Explorer. I will make that bigger as well. I hope this is big enough. And I will try to refresh the subscription. I had 72, as you can see. Now there's 0. And you know why there's 0? Because my function is picking them. Now, if I close this one down, and I send a couple of requests again, let's see. Okay, I have 3 of those right now. If I refresh, then I have 7 messages. So they keep on piling up. They keep on coming. I don't lose them. I don't have to have the function alive and running in order to have the functionality. Now, again, I run it again. It will pick the messages. Let's zoom in. The messages are picked and printed. Everything seems nice, and they disappear from the subscription. So this was the demo, or the first demo. I would like to show you the namespace a little bit more if we have some time over later. And the function is still published. If you want to play, feel free. I will delete it later. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the first in, first out pattern. Now, in some cases, we send the messages and we need them to be delivered or to be picked in a certain order. And in order to achieve this functionality with the service bus, we have to use the session ID. Now, in order to use the session ID, we have to enable the sessions either in queue level or on subscription level. Now, beware that if you do that, then every message has to have a session ID for them to be available, to be able to be sent. If you don't, then you will get an error message. And this method is also used to implement the request and respond pattern. I think that this is a useful one. Yet again, I have a small asterisk even there about the first in, first out pattern. And of course, you can lock the session ID, and you can make sure that you're the only one that picks those messages coming with this session ID. But if your Azure function, for example, is scalable and you have multiple instances of it, then it's not impossible that instance 1 picks the write and instance 2 picks the delete. And they come in the wrong order because they one is slower than the other. So I have heard stories of this not really holding up. Now it should work that way, and this is why I also have another QR code there, which is leading you to Microsoft Learn, where you can to a GitHub repo, when you can read in more detail how you're supposed to implement this. I haven't tried that myself. But this is how Microsoft recommends that you implement the first in, first out pattern. And if anybody has tried it, then please let me know what your experience was and if you did find any pitfalls there. Now, I'm not far from the end, but we do also have another nice feature, and this is the scheduled message deliveries. And okay, you would imagine, why would I have that? Okay, well, as I mentioned earlier, we have the luxury of not being dependent by the subscriber being up all the time. We don't have to worry about the messages going to be picked. But there are some scenarios where we are sending a message and we want the message to be available for pickup since a certain point in time. And Azure Service Bus gives us the possibility to do that by using the scheduled and queue time. And of course, it's a UTC field. And we have two ways of doing that, either using the regular API or by passing it together with the message. I think I can show you pretty fast how easy it is. And I will stop my function. And let's go back to this one. And now let's see that I create the message, new service bus message, and I do some the lucky order. And message and schedule and queue time, we can put like now plus, I don't know, 10 hours. And if we do it like that, as you can see in this little block here, then the message will be sent right away, but it won't be available for delivery before now plus 10 hours. Now, if you do have this scenario, then I think that with just one command, you can do that, and it's pretty handy. Now, I have one last feature that I would like to cover, and this is the dead letter queue. Now, if you remember in the beginning, I mentioned that there are some limits. And one of those is how big a message could be. And it's not that you have your own 256 kilobytes of data and that's it. We have some headers, we have some metadata, and a few of those are added upon send. So it could happen that your message was fine when you send it, but it grew out of size when it was sent to the service, when it was received by the service bus. So in that case, this message is not deliverable. And all those messages that are for some reason bad, they're moved to a queue which is called dead letter queue. Now, this is a special one. You can create it upon creation of the namespace, and the messages are stored there for a much longer period than their TTL, their time to leave. And they stay there, I think, for a certain amount of days, which is pretty long, or until you take care of them. And by take care of them, I mean that you have to fix the headers, or you have to find why the message could not be delivered. Maybe the subscribers could not take care of it. Maybe something was wrong in its body. So you can fix it and resend it. And now in this slide, I have a few reasons why a message could be moved to the dead letter queue. And some of those are, as I mentioned, that the header size has been exceeded, that the time to leave has expired. And again, time to leave, I sent a message today and it has, I think the default is 24 hours or something. So the message will be available for 24 hours. If nobody picks that in that subscription, then the message will expire and it will be moved to the dead letter queue. Then in case that we have a queue or a subscription that has sessions enabled, and you manage to send a message that lacks ID, that doesn't have ID, then this also will be moved to the dead letter queue. Then there's another feature that I didn't mention, and it is forwarding. So you can have subscriptions forwarding messages from one another. Now, to prevent endless loops and from subscription 1 sending subscription to subscription 2 and then back to 1 and then back to 2, there is a limit of how many hops, how many forwards you can do, and this limit is 4. And of course, we have the max delivery count. You cannot have endless subscriptions. You cannot have an endless number of subscribers for each message. So the message can be delivered maximum number of times. And the last thing that I would like to mention before taking some questions or showing the namespace is that there are some things that we need to be aware of. There are some API connection limits. If you are using, example-wise, the Logic app and you send messages to the Service Bus, then what you're doing essentially is that you're using a connector. Now, this connector has a limit of how many messages per hour or per minute it can send. And even if it is per minute and those are 100, if you send 100 messages like in an instant, then you have to wait for a whole minute before you can send again. So there are some tricks to override that, and those are that you have to canalize your traffic through various connectors, so that you don't share your pizza with other members. Another thing is that you can only send text, no media. Yet again, I have heard of cases where people were converting their images to base64 strings and they were sending them as text. Now in the premium tier, which allows us to handle messages of 100 megabytes. If you need low latency, then the premium tier is a no-brainer. Microsoft does not promise low latency all the time for the standard tier. I think that it is a problem that we don't have an emulator yet. We do have one for Cosmos. We do have one for the Azure storage, and I did ask a question to Elder about why don't we have an emulator yet, and the answer was that they are the standard tier of the Service Bus and the premium tier are actually quite different applications, and that the one is running on Kubernetes and the other one is running on Service Fabric, so it's technically impossible for them to deliver an emulator that delivers both experiences. Plus that they don't make any money on emulators, so yeah, they don't have the motivation to do, I guess. A single point of failure is always, now no matter how reliable it is, no matter how big, how good the infrastructure is and how many nines they offer in their uptimes, if the service bus for some reason fails, like because someone with too much permissions managed to delete it, then everything breaks again. And there is no silver bullet in software architecture. This is the optimum solution when you want to do decoupling, but nobody can guarantee that it will like always and forever be up and running. And the last thing is that you really should apply zero trust. I did not apply zero trust in my example here. What I did was that I took the connection string from my local settings and I took that connection string from the shared access policies right here. Now, this is a thing that I would really urge you to not do. Don't do that. It's not safe. I just took the connection string from here and I used it in my application. And now I'm like showing that on video. So those will remain there. See how easy it is for someone to misuse it. Now, the correct way to do that would be to use my identity. If I'm running from Visual Studio, then it's the user that I'm logged in as. And if I am a function, then I would use the managed identity. and I would give myself a role, like I think we have some nice roles here called, let's see, the Azure Service Bus Data Center, I think. Yeah. Now, this role is just enough for a function that wants to send messages, or for a user, or for a group that wants to send messages. You don't have to, you have to give the least you can give. So if you just want to pick messages, receiver is enough. Don't use the connections things. They're not safe. It's a bad practice. You should never ever use them if you can. And I guess that those would have to be my closing words. Here is another QR code leading you to my blog, where you can find contact information for me. I'm on Twitter. I need to change the icon, so it's X now. I'm on LinkedIn, and of course you can email me. Thanks for having me again. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Nikos, that was fantastic. Thank you so much for giving up your time tonight to come and talk to us about that.
No,
I think
thank you.
there are a couple of questions in the chat. I don't know if you can see the chat, but
I can. Yes.
yeah, we go. Yeah, I think Mohammed's got the first one a little bit up the chat channel there.
Okay, let's see. Does the service bus push the message? No, it does not. The receiver, and this is why I don't want to call them receivers. They don't receive anything. They subscribe and they pick themselves. The service bus does not deliver any messages. It makes them available, and it is the subscriber that picks those messages. And if you want to have deliveries, then it is the event grid that is your tool of choice. Then I also see Lionel. How do you measure lost messages? Where they end up in a queue, in the dead letter queue, and you can have metrics about this queue as well. So it's like any queue. I'm not sure if this answered your question, Lionel, and thanks for asking. And thank you, Mohammed, as well. Let's see if there's any other one.
Questions? Yeah, I think.
Some nice words. Thanks a lot. I'm really happy that you enjoyed it.
I think Elkhan is asking. He's got a question regarding your last slide. Go on, Elkhan. Being as we're going to hand over to you in a second, do you want to jump on camera?
Yeah, sure. Let me see if camera is coming up here. All right, it's there. Hi everyone. Yes, hello.
Nice to see you.
So, nice to see you as well. So actually, Nikos was also presenter in our Cloud Lunch and Learn session. So from there, we know each other. So he's a great presenter, and it's all about getting into that bus, right? You don't want to miss to be in that bus. I'm in the service bus. So it was a joke, by the way. Okay. All right. So
for the ride.
yeah, regarding the last slide, I see that there's like you have a person there with VR on top. So did I miss something? The last slide.
Let me see. Let me share again. Now you mean this little guy here?
Yes, yes. So what's the special thing about that, VR thing that's always having on?
Well, actually, it was part of the template, so I didn't put a lot of effort on that very specific guy here. I guess it's like it could relate with the recent developments with AI and VR and all those stuff, but it doesn't have to do anything to do with service bus.
Maybe it's about the happy boy who is sitting in that service bus and going to the school with the friends. He can improvise there a little bit. Just
could
saying.
be, yeah, could be.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
all his apps are running on Azure, right? They're all running with Service Bus attached. But no, Nikos, can't thank you enough. Really pleasure to meet you as well. And if everybody wants to come off mute or use the emoticons to show your appreciation for Nikos, but I'm sure we will catch up soon as well. And like I say, stick around for Elkhan's talk and feel free to jump into the quiz as well when we get that up and running. Thank you, Nikos. Really appreciate that.
Bye-bye.
See you soon. No, and on that note, Elkhan, being as you're there, thank you again. Once again, you're a Welsh Azure Group old hand. So I'll hand straight on over to you. Thanks for joining us, Elkhan.
Thank you everyone for being in this great show. The Azure Welsh user group is special group where I'm always enjoying to join and having great organizers here and the community. So I'm sharing my screen. Does everybody see the slide?
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, it's there. Okay. So yeah, thank you. So what we'll do now in the second part of this, without any overdue, I want to jump into the Microsoft Azure Architect Exam, and not just, because it's a very big topic, I'm not going to kind of pretend that you are going to learn all about that in just this 45-minute session, but I'm going to more focus toward, how you can get up to speed with that in terms of if it's in your agenda, it's something, one of the goals that you want to hit in 2024, how you can do that, how you can make sure that you can follow a certain plan that will take you into the next level of success, where you don't just pass the exam, but you also learn this inner workings of technology and systems and components that you want to make sure that you nail it, and you can use that once the right moment is there, meaning that you are assigned to do some project and you can shine your architect skills. So let's give the start now. So this was the brilliant poster from the LinkedIn that everybody saw. So thank you for doing that, for all organizers, and thank you, Nikos, for first presentation. So I'm Elkhan. So I'm Microsoft MCT for some long time, but this year I also was privileged to be recognized as the MCT regional lead for the US region. So it's a very honoring. And if you are also an MCT in the region, or you're trying to become an MCT and need somebody just kind of to guide you in that road, or maybe you need some suggestions or so, I'm going to team up with another MCT region lead called Dwayne Natwick, and we are trying to push some monthly sessions for new MCTs and as well as existing MCTs, kind of to help you how to navigate that terrain, right? How to understand what type of courses are coming, maybe share some tips and tricks, and just move the community forward. Okay. Other than that, I'm in Cloud Launch and Learn team. We are also hosting sessions there, trying to share the good stuff. And I'm also blogging from time to time on the cloudmarathoner.com, the blog post. And there's a Cloud Marathon community on the social media that I'm proudly, trying to make people know about that, because that's the hashtag where we share about Azure, about cloud, about innovations and training opportunities that you can take advantage of. All right, so next is, it's a little bit information about where I'm working. If you are in the US area and you are looking to some cloud engineering career, or you want to switch, you are bored in what you are doing, you are more than welcome to get in touch with me. We have some open positions. We are doing some federal and government type of cloud systems. So let me know if you're interested and we can take it from there. Okay, so what we are going to cover today, the main part of our presentation. So we are going to look into a number of good stuff so that you get maximum out of it. So first of all, we will start with where to start your Azure architect journey, or just generally speaking architect journey, right? So we need to start somewhere, and if you are not there yet, it would be a good path to review and understand it. Then we'll just focus on change, right? What changed during this last year, from 2023 beginning till the end of 2023. Now we are in 2024, so what has changed? What were the additions into this architect exam? And what were those updates that you want to be aware about? Next, we'll look into some learning resources for this exam. Where, how you can, what type of resources you want to be aware about, because there are some great community resources as well that are done across the world. There are different great authors that I'm going to share their links, and then of course we'll have a quick Q&A session at the end, just to answer the questions that you may have, or you can also put them in the chat while this presentation is going on. Okay, so the first part is as this is the infographic that you see here, it's about certification journey if you want to become a Microsoft Azure Solution Architect expert. That's something that you get as a credentials once you pass your AZ-104, which is the Azure Administrator Associate exam here. Let me just make sure we can pin it down a little bit. So first we need to get this AZ-104. This is the first step. This is prerequisite, but there is no specific order that you have to take the Azure administration first and then go and take the second part of it, which is the AZ-305. You can start the either way. So I'm not going to talk about Azure administration. That's another topic on its own. But even before starting with this one, of course, making sure that your Azure fundamentals, your Azure data fundamentals are in place, you have good understanding, that's another prerequisite to that. So once you have that in place, in addition to kind of going after the AZ-305 exam, I would also say that, having an experience in administration really helps you, because then you understand the services, a little bit delicate stuff between administration services and how to basically manage the Azure environment for your customer and specific workload needs. Then of course general understanding as an architect or prospective architect, you need to have some general understanding how IT operations work. What's the redundancy, how and understand the redundancy. When you talk about upper availability, it's all about coming at the cost, meaning that the higher redundancy you want to build for your customers, the higher the cost would be, and your customers needs to understand that. In addition to that, experience with Azure DevOps tools like ARM templates, Azure Bicep, infrastructure as a code, it can be Terraform. These type of skills are also very useful, even though you are not going to be tested against them. But in Azure Architect exam, you would expect to be to have some fundamental knowledge about ARM templates and as well as Azure Bicep code, which we will touch a little bit later on. So let's say you have those type of things. Then another thing is that you need to become really very good with Azure Learn documentation, which is called Microsoft Learn nowadays, right? Everything rebranded, and knowing to understand the Microsoft documentation, where to find what you don't know. It's another important skill, because as you know, most of the associate exams, I would say even all of them, are in a mode that during the exam you are allowed to fire up the browser and look for the search for the things that you forgot or you want to verify. So from that perspective, on your day-to-day interactions, when you especially trying to trying to get up to speed to learn and understand the material, I would definitely encourage go and use that Microsoft documentation, Microsoft Learn, understand how it is laid out, work on your search strategy, whatever works for you, in a way that you can find information that you just learn about but you forgot, and you want to have a refresher to make sure that you know the facts straight away. So that skills are also important to develop during your study time. Of course, in addition to that, there are like additional references like Azure Architecture Center, where you can get some good ideas about some best practice implementations and stuff like that. But I would say try to focus mostly on your study guide, what's there, and which is on your Azure 305 exam page, right? The study guide is there, and we'll touch base on that. So, and once you feel you went through some practice tests, right? There are some free practice tests, and you are scoring, well enough, which is above 90s, upper 80s even. Then you can. It means that you are ready. Now you can press the button and go after the exam. But let's have more deep dive into that to see what you should expect in terms of group of topics within your exam. All right. So here, in terms of what to expect, there are like 4 main groups, and those groups did not change. They are the same as they were in a year ago. So there was no big shift there. However, the percentage of questions that you have in each topic, they may change a little bit, but generally speaking, it stays same. And as you see, there are 4 main groups. One of them is, of course, starting with identity and governance. And then we have data storage solutions. We have disaster recovery, business continuity kind of scenarios where you want to make sure your systems are ready for that. And of course, the biggest part is designing infrastructure solutions. Okay, now we talked about that, but what happened during that 1 year, right? So that's kind of important to know if you are already an Azure architect or you are doing some architect work for your clients and customers, or you are involved in that, then what were those, a number of handful of changes that happened during a year. So let's go through them one by one. The first one, probably this, icon here gives the name already. So first biggest thing was that Microsoft Entra is a new unified authentication, authorization, security service that has been rebranded from previous name, which was Azure AD. So wherever you had Azure AD, just rebrand that or rephrase that into Microsoft Entra ID. That's how it will go going forward. And this is something that you already maybe saw on the Microsoft Learn documentation. In a number of places has been changed, but for some older videos or older content that you may see on the web, that be prepared to see Azure Active Directory still there. But over time, my understanding is it's all going to be changed or deprecated. Next big thing is, of course, some services get deprecated and are not going to be asked on the exam anymore. The biggest one of them is Azure Blueprints. Azure Blueprints, as you know, they are deprecated, and the recommended new way, if you want to migrate them or make sure that your organization. And by the way, the Azure Blueprints were in a public preview. They were not GA. They were not generally available. So it was expected that if it doesn't make a GA, it's going to be deprecated with something else, and that would happen. And you have time till like beginning of July 2026, kind of do any change if you're already using Azure Blueprints. And the path that Microsoft recommends from the Microsoft Learn documentation perspective is to migrate your blueprint definitions and assignments into template specs and into deployment stacks. So that's kind of place where you want to move as architect your existing solutions in Azure Blueprints. Then, of course, as it's here already, we have Azure Cosmos DB updates where Azure Cosmos DB for Postgres is coming to the play, and it's a fully managed cloud-native distributed SQL database for transactional applications. And the REST APIs will enable you to manage your Azure Cosmos DB resources programmatically. That's the biggest thing that came there is in this last year. And the major category that's going to be supported with this Azure Cosmos DB for Postgres is deployment, management, or promotion to a cluster, managing coordination between worker nodes and their configurations, managing the firewall rules, managing the private endpoint connection. So all these things now are programmatically enabled for access, so that using the APIs within the Cosmos DB for PostgreSQL, you can manage those pieces. Another thing here, another update coming with DDoS protection. It comes, as you know, DDoS protection, actually this has been there before, but it didn't have a tier. So now it comes with 2 tiers. One is the network protection and another one's IP protection. And if you use the DDoS protection or your customers use the DDoS protection in the past, one of the main complaints from customers was that it's a bit expensive service. Like customers didn't want to dedicate that much because maybe they were not using it at that scale, at that big scale that DDoS protection was coming. So that's why now you have like 2 tiers. As you know, it's a network protection and IP protection tiers. Basically, the network protection tier is for the resource deployments in virtual network that are enabling the DDoS protection across 100 IPs. So it comes with some bulk kind of there. But with IP protection, you basically just get the protection for your public IP address, for a single public IP address, and enable that where you want to enable your DDoS protection. So that's the and finally the last one here is the Azure Workbooks. I think Azure Workbooks is one of the underutilized services, especially in the beginning or inception of the project, where your IT posture or maybe cybersecurity team may want to have some type of dashboards or some type of visualization about the status of reports, where they want to see what are the alerts, what are the vulnerabilities, because Azure Workbooks is basically, it's a visualization tool that you can use to create some very sophisticated visualizations by using the queries that you can run on your analytic workspace. So with workbooks, it will let you to combine multiple kinds of visualizations and analysis, and making them great for free form type of exploration. You can use log queries, metrics, and parameters in order to enrich interactive reports, and you can pin them as a dashboard provided to the people who are on a let's say on a management perspective, or decision makers can see what's going on the environment. So that's about that. But now let's look at those four domain groups, right, where you are expected to be challenged. You are expected to know those things. So let's see from a from a I wouldn't say high level, but let's see what those things are entail. What those things coming up. So first one is the identity governance and monitoring solutions. Of course, it's all about logging, making sure that logging and monitoring is in place, and then authentication and authorization solutions are in place. Microsoft Entra comes in place with that, and then design governance. So as a part of this, kind of exam objective, there's a small there's a nice from monitoring and logging perspective. Let's look at the diagram, right? As an architect, you want to understand that from a diagram perspective, where you can see the components and as well as each and relation between them. So for example, in this I borrowed this diagram from the Azure Architecture Center, by the way. So you can see that let me see, where's my okay, I'm trying to find my mouse. Oh, here it is. So basically here, as you see, the first time whenever you provision your Azure resource or create an Azure account and you have a subscription, then Azure is going to collect some metrics and logs. And those metrics and logs are coming from a variety of different places. They do get collected into your Azure Log Analytics, right? That's the space where it gets collected. But then those logs, those metrics, it can be traces. You can also send some custom logs, right, into your Azure Log Analytics workspace for specific needs of your application. And then those things can be consumed by different ways. So as you see, you may have some application insights. You can have some visualization on those data. You can have some specific analysis on those data as well before providing that information to your customers. And of course, you can build some alerting for specific needs. If, for example, there is a you have some specific metrics, based on that you want to send alert to the team of O&M group within your organization, you can easily do that using this Azure Monitor and integration service that comes with. Next here, we have group number 2, which is the data storage solutions. So more or less this one get untouched in terms of like general concept and the solutions, data solutions. There wasn't much change here, except certain solutions get updated features. But it talks about a type of storage that you need to offer to your customers based on what they are trying to achieve, and the type of data that how you want to collect the data, process them, and then visualize will really depend on a use case, on a workload that where you are trying to, you know, bring the efficiency and solution for your customers. So from that perspective, if you look at the closer look at, let's have a closer look at storage, you know, types that are analyzed during your exam, you know, and you can be asked about that. So one of them is basically looking at different, you know, storage, you know, types, and where the one or the other, let's say where relational data makes the most sense to be utilized, or where non-relational data is making the, you know, biggest sense to be utilized. But generally speaking, if you are having some if you are able to gather structural data, it's going to be easier to integrate that into some type of reporting tools where you have some canned reports or reports that are dependent on a tabular format. But if you have semi-relational data, where which are examples of like semi-structured data here, JSON of course is the biggest one, where most modern applications where they you know, save their data. You also have XMLs and YAMLs, and of course you have unstructured data as well. So having a good idea, you know, which type of data works where, and the advantage and disadvantage, and offering the correct data type to your customers is, you know, something that by learning this you would be empowered to do. Next is, of course, let's look at some relational data products that you can use and offer to your customers. And this is another kind of small infographic where, you know, depending on where you are in your decision tree, you can, you know, come up with relational data service for your customer or for your specific solution that you are trying to offer. And this is another one where, you know, data type is analyzed. You know, first of all, you want to see that does your database engine or database software has any dependency on operating system, right? If that's the case, of course, your only choice is to make sure that you run that within that box, which is the virtual machine, where you also have control over your operating system. But if it's not the case, then another alternative, basically running a managed database engine or a data product is a much better way to go, because then you don't have to worry about operation and maintenance, you know, security patches and stuff like that. So most of the, I would say, you know, most of the mature organizations try to use as much as possible managed instances, because in long run they understand that the cost, you know, is the cost and the benefits that they will get out of it is going to be valuable for that organization. Okay, next is designing business continuity and solutions, right? So when you speak about that, it's about DR, it's about backups, it's about high availability, how you enable that, and how you make sure that your customers are well understand the RTO, RPO type of, you know, kind of terminology, and they choose the right disaster recovery solution for them. From that perspective, we can look into another small kind of diagram where certain solutions that you have for disaster recovery currently available in Microsoft Azure could be used. And each of them, of course, come with pros and cons depending on where you're trying to apply them. The traditional ways, as you see, we have Azure Backups and Azure Site Recovery Services, which are mostly, you know, targeted toward the Azure VMs, you know, making sure that you have a robust backup for the production workloads. But in addition to that, you also have some VM snapshots and MABAS kind of type of solutions where you can use Microsoft Azure Backup Server, right? And each of them, again, come with their own specific scenarios where you need to have a good understanding where which service actually is good to be used, or it is, let's say, it's designed to be used for specific case scenarios where you are well aware and you can offer that to your customers. And finally, the group number 4. This is this is probably the biggest part of the exam, where you talk about designing the infrastructure solutions, because a number of services are included. When you talk about that, we include the compute solutions, application architecture in another part of it. Migration is a totally new kind of, you know, game ball in terms of a number of different services that comes under the Azure Migrate, and, you know, depending on, are you dealing with databases or you are dealing with workloads, you are dealing with VMware kind of type of workloads that you want to migrate into the Azure. Different services come with their own assistant services, so to speak. And of course, before doing any migration, anything in the cloud, for your customers, you also need to understand what type of network topologies they have currently in place so that you can at least, replicate that into the cloud and modernize that for the specific cloud native use cases. So from that perspective, let's look at another diagram where we can have some decision tree or some guiding tree that will help us to choose a right compute service for our customer. So this is another diagram. And here, of course, whenever we are doing anything for our customers, we need to understand the timeline, what are the constraints and, what's the best solution at that moment. So before migrating, of course, everybody says that lift and shift is not a good option when you start, but there are specific conditions where that might be the best solution at that time for your customer, and you have to use that one due to the constraints in time and complexity of the system that cannot be easily translated into managed services. But if that's not the case and you have this flexibility to modernize systems before migrating to the cloud, the best approach there is to take your time with the application team and with the infrastructure team, understand the nuances, connections, and partially migrate those systems into more managed and to more managed and automated way to the Azure environments with appropriate Azure landing zones so that they can reap the benefits of long-term operational efficiency running those systems in the cloud. And this is, again, I'm not going to go through this decision tree, but this is another good architecture that you can rely on when you are trying to understand the systems or guide your customers to choose the correct compute service for their needs. So all this is very good, but we need to have some learning resources, right? We need to have this list of good, I would say, list of some good guiding learning resources that we can rely on. So first, of course, the most important is the study guide, but then there are some additional materials that you can use. So of course, you start with your study guide, you start with your Microsoft Learn modules, you want to finish them first. Then in addition to that, as a cloud marathoner, I have some study guide published on my website, so you are welcome to check them. I'm going through the process of updating them as the services and exams getting updated. Then we have Thomas Maurer, who has published his study guide for the AZ-305. Then, of course, we have some official practice tests from Microsoft Learn. They are also great. But for any practice test, if you are just starting to learn about Azure architecture and the exam, I would highly recommend first to finish Microsoft Learn modules and then jump into the practice test, because that would give you opportunity to really assess you where you are in terms of readiness to the exam. Okay, next, if you are more interested in video kind of blogs or video material that's created by the community, John Saville is one of the, has some of the probably, best video collages and video for this exam, so you can check it out there. There's always some good stuff going on there. Then, of course, we have labs and exercises from GitHub that Microsoft has shared there. We have Azure Architecture Center, which is a great starting point if you are trying to understand what are the possibilities and what are some good practices that you can apply. And of course, there's an exam simulator from Microsoft that can give you some, I would say, confidence in terms of understanding the environment and exam not exam application, but exam environment, how you are going to be tested. And then finally you have some free practice assessment tests. There are like around 50 of them from Microsoft that you can use. And let's say, you went through them all, but it's not enough and you need some more information. At that point, there are some LinkedIn learning videos, and one of them has been created by me. It's on Azure Solution Architect for designing infrastructure solutions. So I would highly recommend to check it out. And I will share the link on the chat later on. Another thing that you want to keep in mind that Azure comes with awesome free services, even though let's say you you have a subscription, but let's say you don't, you have a constraint on budget and you want to still play with those services, there's always some free services that you can use for free for live. They are smaller SKUs, but they are still usable for testing and kind of learning purposes. So check them up. I will also share their link in the chat. And now it's time for the questions and answers. So is there any questions in the chat? Anyone, please let me know so we can go through them. But before going to the questions, I know I went a little bit speedy here, but let me actually have a let's review what we covered basically in this presentation. Maybe at that point you can remember some questions that are going through your mind maybe 10 minutes ago or so. So we started this architect journey, right? So what it takes to become Azure Architect, what are the prerequisites, you know, what's the journey, and what are the two type of exams you want to pass at the end in order to become a Azure Architect Expert. Then we looked into what actually changed within the last year. So what were the updates into the exam in terms of services, in terms of tiers, in terms of rebranding of Azure Active Directory into the Microsoft Entra ID. Then we looked into some learning resources, including some community member references and resources that are, I would say, that have very valuable insights there that you can check and get the benefit out of it. And finally, we are in the section Q&A. So any questions here, please bring them up.
Thanks, Elkhan. That's been super informative, especially if you're about to resit that exam or sit that exam for the first time, which I think we've got. Mohammed has said in the chat he's got his book next week, so hopefully that was of some good use to you, Mohammed. But I can't see any questions specifically in the chat there. But no, that was great, Elkhan. Thanks for the overview. Unless Matt, you were gonna say something then.
Yeah, I do have a question actually. I'm curious when you showed the compute diagram. There was no container apps on there. Is that not considered for the exam?
It was at the bottom there, wasn't it?
There was container app Azure App Service Container, but not container apps.
ACA, yeah.
Yeah, it just struck me. It was an omission from there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was on a kind of mute, but yeah, this diagram didn't capture everything. It's just kind of, you know, portion of the things. I would not say it captures everything, but yeah, app containers, they also were added in the last year or so. So it would be good. Yeah, it's a good catch that it can be also added here. I agree with you.
I'm wondering if that's what that middle box is trying to say there, my Azure App Service, but for containers.
Well, no, because you can run containers in
ACI
Azure App Service. So
yeah, no, that is
It's just because it was something that's top of my mind at the moment, and it was all of a sudden something that wasn't on there. So
yeah, even before that, I believe my understanding was that maybe it's part of this Azure App Services, just kind of, you know, that you can run also containers there, right? It's kind of type of feature that it offers. But yeah, I realize it's also, you know, but again, like this is just this diagram is from the perspective of kind of general idea, right? So that you can set up some type of decision tree and in your for your kind of quick references, so to speak. But this is definitely not the, you know, up to date or latest diagram there. But this is just a sample that you can come up with. Yeah. But that's a good one. Yeah. And of course, you know, let me also be clear. In the next year, maybe you will have a lot of new, not maybe, but 100% I'm sure, within a year, if I come back again to the Welsh Azure user group with Azure, whatever the updates of the new 2025 for the, you know, Azure Architect, we'll see a lot of AI updates here. Because as you know, and I'm not talking about Copilot. Copilot is everywhere. If you don't see it, you know, just have a look into the Microsoft, you know, events. You would see that everywhere. So in addition to Microsoft Copilot, for example, there's a lot of things going on with Azure, Azure AI Studio, right? That you can run there. It's in the public preview. So because there's a lot of public preview things, you know, we can't just show it. But I would say a number of new Azure AI Studio tools, how to make sure that you can basically develop and extend the Azure AI for your business needs. Those type of things are coming as well. Yeah.
Cool.
Super. Thanks, Elkhan. I can see just one other quick question I think James had there about did you say we had to do the 104 first? And I guess no, yeah, the answer is you don't have to do it. Do 104 first, but to be honest with you, I found 104 to be the harder exam. So you're probably best off doing 305 first
So
anyway.
if you are doing AZ-900 after 104, you know, then means you are bored or something happened.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely, yeah, AZ-900 is more of a if you have some experience with other clouds, let's say, you know, use some other cloud, and then you are coming to Azure. At that point, if you want to know what is the, you know, kind of services, compute, kind of, you know, storage, network services that you have in Azure, and you want to get up to speed with terminology, AZ-900 is good for that, because you get up to speed in terms of service names, what's available, what's in identity and security, what's in, you know, different phases of the Azure, or different, I'll say, parts of the Azure that you need to be aware about. You know, but I would say another, as an architect, you know, if you are stepping into those shoes, you also need to have a good understanding what type of services are getting deprecated, so that you don't offer those type of services to your customers, because it will really damage your credibility as an Azure architect there. So staying on top of your game, especially services that are, you know, going to change or transition, you need to be aware about that. Yep, and these are the QCR codes here for some of the resources that we offered. Awesome Azure Architecture is another great resource that maintained by the MVPs. Luke Murray, I believe that he's maintaining. That's one of the, you know, great people there in the community. We have Microsoft AZ-305 modules, study guides, and some LinkedIn videos. But other than that, thank you everyone again for joining this session, especially the, you know, people who are making this great community. And thank you, Johnny, and thank you, Matthew, having me.
No,
just a quick question about the slides. Are you going to make the slides available to people?
Yes, I will publish them into a GitHub repo, and I will send the link in the, you know, chat, so that you can share it, so that they can access that. Yeah, because those links are clickable once you know, convert them into PDF. So that's what I would do.
Excellent.
Great.
No, great to see you again, Elkhan. Thank you so much once again. I think everybody's shown their appreciation, haven't they? So, yes, right, stick around for the quiz if you like.
Yeah, sure. Let's give it a try.
With AI,
powered by AI, yeah.
AI generation on the questioning.
I shall switch over to this. And then we shall run that one. Everyone see the screen, yeah?
Yeah, got it.
Okay, so there's your code to join. Now I'm hoping, I made some changes to it last week, so I'm hoping I haven't broken anything. Oh, well done, John.
I'm in.
That's a good sign.
Oh, we got a Motion without it. Oh, is that somebody not putting the username in?
Yeah, I do need to fix that. It is on my backlog. And another one.
How many we got? We got 18 people minus you, 17. Expected around about 17 people if you're all in there.
Yep.
Shout if you're struggling to join. We'll hang on for a minute or so.
Now I will say, I think 4 out of 10 questions I think I used ChatGPT to generate, so we shall see. Oh, good. Yes, I did fix that one as well. Still haven't put the music on there yet. I know people have been asking for it.
Music.
Yeah, background music whilst you
yeah.
While you wait.
We got our chief testing officer there, Alan, saying 1 second.
Can you request not to have music?
No, it's mandatory now.
Cheesy lift music.
Yep.
I reckon he deliberately goes off trying to bug fix, doesn't he now? Trying to find that one little bug. There oh, he's in.
In.
He's in. Good news.
No, I
Okay,
was in the
anyone still
car,
struggling?
John, so it was a bit of a problem.
Any more for any more? Are we all okay? Those of us in the chat not joining, just drop us a message in the chat if you're struggling. Other than that, get Quizmaster for Tonka on the case.
Should we kick off?
Yeah, I'm not seeing any messages, so I guess so.
Okay, let's go. Which social media platform turned 20 this year? So they're tickling in. That's good. The answer is Facebook. Split the pack this time. What key is Microsoft adding to Windows keyboards? This should be an easy one to guess. Copilot key, yeah, absolutely. What's the maximum number of Service Bus namespaces you can have in an Azure subscription? I think this was an AI generated one. Because I think I had to go and check the answer.
You'd have really had to be listening to the.
It's 1,000. Only 2 of you this time. Which of the following is not an Azure messaging infrastructure option?
It's a well-placed question, Matt.
I know. Anyone would think I looked at who was speaking. Logic Apps is the right one. Well done. Which of the following is a serverless compute service in Microsoft Azure? This was definitely an AI generated one. Because it's a bit wordy for me.
Oh. I was going to say, could there not be 2 answers there?
No.
Blob
There's only ever
storage.
one.
Blob
I'm right.
storage? What?
Not compute though, is it?
Oh. Okay.
What's the purpose of conditional access policies? Again, another AI one, bit wordy.
What's a 0AG? Hashtag enter, yeah.
Enforce access controls based on conditions, yep. What type of information can Azure Key Vault securely store? Yes, everyone got that one. It's going to come down to who got it fastest. Which feature in Azure allows you to filter network traffic between subnets, network interfaces, and virtual machines? Again, these are 305 standard questions, I'm hoping. With network security groups. Well done. Microsoft became the world's most valuable company this month. Who was the previous #1?
I might have half a chance of doing well this month, Matt.
Are you saying the AI is generating questions that you might be good at?
Well, no, it's just if you've aligned to something that I might know about.
Correct answer was Apple, of course. What was the original name of Windows before it was officially named Windows? And this was AI generator, and I didn't know this, and I had to go and look this up, and it is true.
You know, I honestly don't know that I know this one.
No, it was Interface Manager.
No way. Okay.
Mm.
That's a good one.
Let me just double check. And our winner tonight is Simon. Well done, Simon.
Well done, Simon.
With Graham in second place, if we want to do top two tonight.
You're doing top two? Yeah,
so.
why not?
We've got
Simon, I don't know. Simon, Graham, yeah, do me a favor, just drop your email over. If you're on LinkedIn with me, drop it over private message, or if you don't mind dropping it in the chat here now, just drop it in the chat. If you don't mind sharing it amongst others, and I'll get the £25 Amazon vouchers. So yes, well done to both of you.
Congratulations.
Go just drop them in there. Right, okay, let's wrap this one up then. Yeah, drop me over your email address as soon as you can, because without that I can't get an Amazon voucher assigned to you. So ping it over anyway, Twitter, LinkedIn, or in the chat, and I'll get on with that. That's right. Let's take this one home. Thanks, Matt. That was good. Yeah, good use of generative AI there. So and it was hard pressed to tell which were the Fatunka questions and which were the Gen AI one, eh?
The Gen AI ones were cleverer than the ones I came up with, I have to say.
Yeah, I got the most of them wrong though, but there we go. That's the way it works, isn't it? Cool. Right, let's bring this to a close then. Look, thanks everybody once again for joining us. You know, really do enjoy the events once a month that we put together. So, you know, huge shout out again to the speakers, Nikos and Elkhan. Really appreciate everybody giving up the time to come and teach us something new, and of course everybody for sticking around and taking part in the quiz as well. Hope you've enjoyed this month's session. As always, big thanks to Matt as well for pulling together our little quiz. And yeah, I'm you know, I'm going to start buying stocks in Quizzer, I think. Let us know when it's going publicly floated, Matt, and put some investment funding into that one.
One word, John, just a quick congratulations to Elkhan for his regional lead position.
Good shout out, actually. Yeah, Elkhan, are you still on? Yeah, well done, matey. I don't know if he's still. Hang on, let me find. Yeah, he's still there. Congrats, Elkhan. Noticed that the other day. I think there's a couple of people who made some regional leads. That's a big shout there. So yeah, well done for that. Good shout, Alan. Yeah, okay, well that's it then. Next session, we're looking at 21st of Feb. Get the dates in the diary. We'll be announcing the lineup hopefully this week. Got one confirmed, just waiting for confirmation back from the other speaker. I'll get that out as soon as possible. But for now, it's a pleasure. Thank you everybody for joining. Hope you've enjoyed yourselves. Get off and have some tea, and we'll see you all in a month's time. But for now.
So, Elkhan, you got your hand up.
That was by mistake, but thank you everyone for this great evening. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks, El.
Thanks. Bye.
Elkhan, we need some more bicep. Has he gone?
Yeah, you just missed him.
Oh well, never mind.
Thanks all. Thanks all for showing up.
No worries.